Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
So welcome to the FindingSpeed GT3 League live on the FindingSpeed YouTube channel and on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is DJ Clark. Alex Simpson is operating the cameras tonight for this round 3 of the championship here at Zolder. DJ, this is one of the tightest circuits we will visit all season long. It's a circuit that maybe not all the drivers will enjoy, but it's nice to be back here. I feel like we haven't visited this track too often recently on Apex Racing TV.
Indeed, Sam. This is one of those tracks that you kind of circle when you see the calendars come out as one that could be a very much wild card round. Passing is going to be at an absolute premium around here. Not a lot of good areas to get the move done, and really getting a good lap time requires a lot of commitment and aggression. There are the big sausage curbs on the inside of a lot of these chicanes. They can really mess up the cars if you're not careful, and so drivers are going to have to be on the tip top of their game if they want to extract the maximum from around this tricky circuit.
Those big curves that you mentioned are absolutely pivotal for these cars. These are GT3 cars, they're not single-seaters, so they can deal with the curbs somewhat, but certainly they've got to be careful, and it can easily damage the splits, and of course can even cause an engine failure potentially. I've seen that before around this circuit, so you've got to be very cautious. I think we have the championship standings available in the professional, the amateur and the teams championship, and we're only 2 meetings in, and it's been a fairly crazy season so far. A lot of the drivers who are at the top of the standings in round 1 weren't around for round 2, and so take these results as with a grain of sand. It could easily change in the remaining rounds, but at the moment it's Herkon Grebstad at the top. Tom Dadswell up in second place. I think they're both finished in the top 5 in the first 2 rounds. Then a bit of a gap back to Stein Van Nylen, Patrick Gannon and Jensen Adjenson's rounding out the top 5. Callum B. Carson really should have won at Imola, but failed to do so. Then I believe he did win last time at Sebring, but there's a lot of competitive drivers. Billy Fletcher, very competitive out there. In the amateur championship, it's a bit closer near the top. Got Gooch at the top there, ahead of Crouch, Odoms, Bluseau and Volkner rounding out the top 5 again. So many competitive drivers, really anyone could win in that class still, even those drivers who are near the bottom of the standings. And then in the teams championship, it is super close in this. Ignium Motorsports at the top, ahead of Altitude Esports, and Altitude looks so strong at Imola. I think at one point they were occupying the top 5 places about midway through Imola. Hasn't really gone their way in the second half of that race and at Sebring. However, they're still very much in play. Second and third positions, Team Upstate and RPM Racing rounding out the top 5. So still very much early stages of this season, but a different circuit here at Zolder for these drivers to have to deal with. Currently just in a practice session. Got 3 more minutes left of that, and then we'll head into a 10-minute qualifying session with an hour-long race coming up as well. And I feel like one of the most important qualifyings that we're going to have all season, DJ. I think he alluded to it earlier on with the difficulty of overtaking. If you're qualifying down in 6th place here and you don't gain places on lap 1, I honestly struggle to see how you're going to win this race, because it is so tricky to overtake, and you know, all these guys are competitive. They're not going to give you those overtakes easy.
Yeah, for sure. It's not going to be an easy feat. You can maybe get a move down here and there if you're very, very aggressive going through really the first sector. There's a chance. I have seen some drivers be able to really get something going into Boulderberg or perhaps into Villeneuve. But really and truly, because of the one-lane nature of a lot of these curbs, trying to go too wide is just going to put you off into the gravel, put you in danger of running afoul of those big sausage curbs to the inside. So you are right, Sam. Qualifying going to be at a real premium. If you start at the front, you're probably going to finish at the front.
Yeah, and at the moment, just looking at the practice times, and of course, you know, we don't always see practice pace correlate to the qualifying pace, albeit it's a fairly good example, but, you know, track conditions change in a practice session, and so it can change a bit. Callum Reed-Gartson at the top of the practice sessions, and of course, unfortunately, you haven't seen the first couple of rounds, DJ, but of course we did cover the Sim Racers World Championship, and Callum was extremely quick in that. He joined mid-season, and I'm pretty sure every race he took part in, he was basically on course to win. I think the only race that he didn't win was maybe Mid-Ohio, where he had that long pit stop. But we know how quick a guy he is, and he's put at the top of the practice standings once again. So, I mean, for me personally, I think he's certainly my favourite for tonight's race.
Yeah, I think it would be a little bit foolhardy to go against Callum here, that very, very quick number 22 machine. And you are right, absolutely a dominant force there in the Sim Racers World Series, and really a powerhouse in whatever car he gets into. So Callum Reed-Gartson definitely one to check out for. But the drivers behind him, no slouch as well. Grebstead, we've also, you and I have had the pleasure of being able to cover as well. A very, very quick driver there too.
Yeah, and he's currently at the top of the standings. Really, whatever Gartson does tonight, it's unlikely he'll be able to overhaul Grebstad. He's going to have to sort of play the long game and overhaul that points deficit over the course of the next few rounds. But if anyone's going to be able to do it, it is going to be Callum Reed-Gartson. He's going to be able to come back from that adversity. Of course, for those listening on or watching on the FindingSpeed YouTube channel, you probably already know this, but FindingSpeed is an iRacing and YouTube content creator providing broadcasted community races, leagues, track guides, and how-to videos for iRacing enthusiasts. And you can learn more at FindingSpeed.com. And you can join us for another live broadcast tomorrow night in the form of the Green Hell, which is a 2-hour solo sprint race designed to help esports teams and drivers get ready for the official iRacing Nürburgring 24 hours next weekend, which is certainly the event that you need any amounts of practice that you can possibly get in. And also after that, excitingly, the next FindingSpeed community race will be the Gaggle at the Glen in anticipation of the iRacing Watkins Glen 6 hours in June. If you're interested in joining, you can learn more at findingspeed.com/race. And of course, if you're watching along on Apex Racing TV, go subscribe to the FindingSpeed YouTube channel. Get a lot of useful tips to improve your performance on iRacing over there. As we flick over to the qualifying session, the drivers, I believe, can set a maximum of 3 laps, so they are limited by the laps rather than the time here, DJ. So maybe just a bit more emphasis on taking your time, making sure that you get those tyres in the perfect position here on the out lap, so that you're in the right position to go for a lap here, because this qualifying session around this track, it can go very badly very quickly.
Yeah, indeed, it can go very badly very quickly, and I think that's why you're going to see on this first lap for the drivers putting in a banker lap, putting in a time that you're not pushing at 120%. You're maybe keeping yourself restrained a little bit to 95 to just make sure you get a good time on the board, one where you're not running afoul of any of the track limits, where you're not having any problems like that. And then once we get on to lap 2 and 3, that's when the gloves are really going to come off and these drivers are going to be absolutely pushing. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of invalidated laps there, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see some very quick laps there as well.
Yeah, it could be Hero Zero. It's probably one of the best tracks, honestly, to see drivers really push it. I think whenever you got a track like Montreal, maybe it's the epitome of that, where you got the final chicane, you can really take it with aggression. But there's so many sort of track limit areas where, like you say, you can get a lap time invalidated. Then you got the curbs, got some fairly high-speed corners as well. Going to be intense action for these drivers, and like I said, 3 laps for them to put in a time. They got the 10 minutes, but it'll be the 3 laps up there limited by. It's not the longest circuit in the world, this one, as they just navigate around the back of this track and go up into sort of this undulating section. Got a very weird sort of hairpin here. The hairpin sort of comes out of nowhere. I tend to think, DJ, you wouldn't necessarily design a circuit like this anymore. But yeah, I think it's probably one of the most tricky corners on the track, getting the car stopped and then accelerating out to that final chicane, which is another super narrow part of the track.
Yeah, and that chicane there at the end, Jochen Rindt, is called, very much limits overtaking coming out of the corner. It's not like you're really able to get that side-by-side blast coming down through there. Somebody's got to give as they go. And as we watch Akaranza here, this Audi is a car that I would be a little bit concerned around here. That is not a car that is a big fan of bumps and curbs, and so I wouldn't be surprised if that car is a real handful for any of the drivers who chose it here today.
Yeah, we'll see what time he can put in. I think he's pretty much the first driver out there, so his time will be the first to come up on the timing tower. And seems like a pretty stable lap for him so far. Of course, perhaps going for the strategy of just getting a clean lap in initially and then being able to build on that. Now he goes through the chicane and not taking too much curb there. It does look spectacular to take all the curb, but it's not very fast. And it's not very safe either. But expect some chaos on lap 1 when it comes to that. I think those lap times from Dadswell and Co, I don't believe they are... Well, maybe they are proper laps, to be fair. But yeah, seeing a few drivers cross the line right now. Dadswell currently at the top, head of the amateur drivers. We're still watching Okaransa just to deal with the hairpin. And still a few more drivers setting times as well. I think they may have just been where their pit stall was, that they've set a lap time on that. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, Dadswell at the top of the standings at the moment, but we've still got a lot of big hitters to put in their first efforts.
Yeah, they certainly are. Plenty of big names to come in. A lot of those 128 ones. I think you're right about the pit stall there, but we'll have to figure that out as the drivers continue to work their way around the track. Right now, Ludovic Zeichen, who's going to call it quits, not liking what he put down. So he's going to come back in and come back out there, jumping around here to Odoms.
So Fletcher moves up into second place. Billy Fletcher was the race winner from round 1, and thank goodness I'm not seeing Mark Fletcher out here. And I always have to mention it. Mark Fletcher and Billy Fletcher are not related. They're in the same team. They're equally as fast. They finished top 2 at Imola, but there is no relation between the two of them. But fortunately, Mark isn't around here tonight, so I don't usually wish ill on drivers, but I am very thankful about that. It means that makes our job a bit easier. Oh, apparently he's in the chat. Oh, excellent stuff. So Mark, taking one for the team there. One of them had to go. You can't possibly have 2 of them on track as Callum Garton goes to the top of the standings. I'll get back to topic now. He's on pole by 0.17 at the moment, so 1.5 tenths clear. Similar distance to what he had in practice as well. And that is the type of pace we were expecting from Callum Garton. Believe he's still got 1 more lap to go. It seems like Dadswell has given in then. He did his first 2 laps, then I think he had his 3rd lap invalidated. Billy Fletcher now just crossing the line. Can Fletcher improve? He does improve, but he remains in 4th position. So he's still looking very good for Altitude Esports. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the grid. but Callum B. Gutson currently with the edge over his teammates.
Yeah, Callum there with that very good lap as we focus here on on Hopkins. Once again, the driver from down under doing a good job here to get that car around. He is going to be in 6th in that AM category, so that's a very good time. Dropping down, though, it has to be said, as more and more of these drivers put down these faster and faster laps, it looks like this track is just catching everybody out here today, as we're seeing a lot of invalidated laps, a lot of drivers not able to put down their best times.
Yeah, a lot of drivers staying in the pits, deciding not to set a time. In fact, actually, fascinating one here. Hakon Grebstad is just going through the final chicane, I think. And he has invalidated, I think, his first 2 times. He's about to come up with his 3rd time, and he was quick, was Grebstad, in practice. He was up in P2's championship leader. I doubt this is really going to worry the pole position, because he's surely had to back out on this time. Let's see if he does pop up on our timing tower. I don't see him there. Wow, so Grebstad now starting another lap. I think he's still got one more lap that he can set. But Grebstad, with his first 2 lap times invalidated, really is not making this one easy for himself. And this could go absolutely disastrously for him if he does start at the back here. Here comes Hopkins. Can he get a little bit further ahead in the amateur standings? He's pushing to the line. But it didn't look like an improvement. Well, it seemed like it was invalidated that time. So Hopkins doesn't improve, but that pole position in the amateur category looks positive for him right now.
Indeed, and yeah, that's a big story, as you said, if Hakon Grubstad is unable to set a time out there, but very, very crucial as we are running down the clock here and drivers running out of laps. As you said, does look like this is going to be a lap race rather than a time limit here in qualifying.
As Soto moves up to 17th place, he also invalidated a couple of his laps, so he's gone up to 7th place in the AMS. Grebstad now just approaching the final corner. We've also got Alex Peck still to put in his last time. Soto still got another lap time. Mystic, Barchata, and Gahea as well. Gahea could move up the standings as well. He is one of the pro drivers out on track. Grebstad just crossing the line now, and Grebstad moves up into 3rd place. So good effort there from Hakon. But wow, his heart must have been pumping on that lap, because first 2 lap times invalidated. He should always be up in the top 5. He's one of the fastest drivers out here, is Grebstad, and he rescues that qualifying with a good lap to finish the session and goes up into 3rd place. But you have to feel like probably there was a bit more on the table there, because he could not have been pushing at 100% on that final lap, knowing what was at stake. Mystic, I think, just going to 22nd. I think that may have been a bit of a change there. Lynch as well still out, and Morin is about to approach the line as well on his lap, and we've also got Dadswell as well still pushing, and he will complete this lap, so watch out for Dadswell. This could be a pole position time, albeit I don't think his second times look very good, and he has decided to bail out.
Yeah, deciding to bail out there in about the last minute of qualifying, but still a very impressive run there for him to be P2 overall. Obviously, the leader of that amateur category, so very, very good for him as we close down here on the last 50 seconds of qualifying, just waiting to see if any other driver is going to be able to put any times down.
I think Ollie Morgan might be able to put in a time. He is a gold driver. He's just approaching the line at the moment, and maybe Lynch as well. No, he's gone back to the pits now as Morgan. So maybe Lynch, the amateur driver, if he goes pole from this position, then my goodness, I think that'd be the greatest bit of sport I've ever seen. So looking forward to that one. By the way, Mark Fletcher lets us know he's at Donington Park today. So hopefully Mark is having a nice time there. And once again, thank you for not turning up today. Really cannot emphasize the thankfulness that I have. And Robert Lancaster also saying 1 to 4 all altitude altitude motorsports. Not the case. Unfortunately, that was broken just as he sent that message, and that is a bit of a jinx, because Grebstad was able to move up into 3rd position. And there's the grid. You can see altitude esports, not 1, 2, 3, 4, but 1, 2, 4, 5 is not far off. Grebstad splitting them in the middle there in 3rd. Then it was Stein van Nylen in 6th place at his home track. Oliver Marin lines up in 7th. Then it's Zykin, Carlson, Brie, Hopkins top of the amateur drivers, really good job from him. Flanagan in 12th. Then it is Scott Angelo, who leads up a huge pack of amateur drivers. Brack Crouch, Chris Gooch, Igor Bembic, Stefano Coccio, Matez Nieves Soto, Matt Knudsen, Robert Odoms, Phil Reagan, Alan Mystic, Dan Ocaranza, Graham Lynch, Nicola Lavagna, Carl Gray, Mads Seja, Alex Peck, Dan Mori, Juan Manuel Cajea, Filippo Puccetti, Christian Volkner, Ollie Morgan, Jose Barchala, and Patrick Gannon. Interestingly, a few pro drivers near the back of that one. I'm just seeing 5 pro drivers in the bottom 7 positions for this one, DJ. So we could see a lot of changes with those guys getting back to their normal places because they've got about 15 amateur drivers lined up in front of them.
Yeah, that's certainly going to present a challenge there, looking at Mori and Juan Manuel and Filippo as well. They're going to have a lot of work to do to try to close down that pack, and those amateur drivers not obligated to get out of the way, so they're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way to get around them, and it's going to be very tricky for them, as we've said multiple times. So very difficult to pass here around Zolder, and I think they're going to have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, it's... They're not. I don't believe they score points in the same points structure. So first in the AMS gets a certain amount of points. You get your position for your overall for your class standing, not your overall position, which is different to most of the leagues that we do on Apex Racing TV. But like you say, they're not obligated to that pass. And if anything, it can be quite useful to have a pro driver lined up between yourself and your nearest amateur rival. Have a little bit of a block in there, so it could be very useful. We go on this full formation lap. This is an older circuit on iRacing, and hence why they haven't got a short parade lap. They were starting to roll out the short parade laps for a few of the tracks about 2 years ago, and then they forgot about it, and we haven't got any more additions, but it lets us appreciate this Zolder circuit that little bit more. I recall broadcasting a race around here a few years ago, I think now, DJ, and we had an almighty pile-up on lap 1 on pretty much on the green flag, because the walls are so close to the edge of the circuit. There's absolutely no runoff whatsoever. If one driver gets spun up at the front of the field there, then it's absolutely curtains. So I just hope that the lanes leave each other spaced here when they go to green flag, because it can get very nasty.
Yeah, you're very right. The wall's very, very close on the front stretch and the sort of back stretch area, let's call it. And it does widen out, have some more gravel runoffs as you work your way up through the hill here and into this area going up into the Villeneuve chicane. But it's not exactly the track that is the widest with barriers, not exactly the widest on track either. And both of those things can lend themselves to a big, big kerfluffle. We are hopefully going to be avoiding that here on this opening lap.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I imagine Garton wouldn't mind too much if everyone got involved in a crash behind him, but I think he'd like a race, especially with his teammates. He's got some points to catch up in the championship. Remember, it's Grebstad at the top of the standings at the moment, only just ahead of Dadswell, and Grebstad does start 1 position behind Dadswell, so we could see those two potentially even title points after tonight. But the likes of Garton, Pudicom, Fletcher and co could all get themselves back into play by the end of the championship fight, and so every position will matter. 1 pit stop, remember, coming up later on. They are limited on fuel, but for now our attention goes to the first few corners of this hour-long race. The drivers get into position. The green flag is held, and it's still held, and there's going to be a little bit of a hold-up just behind, but eventually we do get on the theoretical, and it's Callum Garton who brings us to the green flag here at Zolder for round 3 of the championship. No changes in the top 6 so far. Good start for Carlson. He's got up a couple of places. A couple of drivers running wide through turn one, but on the most part, they seem very neat and tidy, leaving each other a lot of space on both the left and the right sides of the track. So top 6 all exactly the same. Chris Gooch is up 7 places. He's up into the lead of the amateur standings. He must have got an almighty launch. There were a few drivers kind of getting held up in the top 10 there, but Gooch seems to just put his foot down, got past a lot of drivers. We'll see if there needs to be any action take about that as we got the P2 round, and that might be the championship contenders coming together. Dadswell in the end off the circuit. He nearly collected Grebstad and all that, and Fletcher, ever the opportunist, moves up 3 places in that kerfuffle.
And talk about lightning reflexes there from Grebstad, just being able to avoid that. That almost could have placed him completely in front of him between Grebstad and Putticombe there. Very, very quick to be able to get onto the binders, get around that spinning machine. Absolutely incredible.
He was nearly up the inside of Putticombe into the one of the chicanes. Wasn't able to quite make it, did lose 2 places. But like I said, he was very good to not pick up damage. But this is a brilliant start here for Garton. He's already got a bit of a gap over his teammates. And look at Grebstad, he's so close, but it's so tricky to overtake here at Zolder. There's not many big braking areas, and the few big braking areas there are, the track really does narrow up, and it's not easy to make the overtake. So this one could take a while, as he's now spun round. So both the leaders in the championship have both made mistakes so far, and Grebstad drops outside the top 10. That is so unlike him. Mr. Consistent in the first 2 rounds, but he's just leaked a few points right there.
Well, Sam, that is the infamous off-throttle oversteer there of the McLaren as it comes through that first corner of Ersta. Very, very tricky to control. It has caught more experienced drivers even than Grebstad out there, but lucky he was able to avoid any major damage there. Some drivers getting very, very aggressive as well, as here is Bendick in a little bit of a fight in that Lamborghini.
The trails are taking a lot more curve than I thought. Oh, we've got another one off now, and that's Crouch. He's run a bit wide. He didn't seem to take too much curve, but just lost the car regardless. Ben Big is being overtaken by Reagan. Reagan storming through the order. Well, actually, he's 1 place down from his start, but he's recovering the places at least. And apologies, yeah, Reagan up 5 places. My bad. Ben Big is now down 1. I was getting those 2 the wrong way round. Also an incident for Ollie Morgan a bit further down the order. He was already in the mid-20s. He's now outside the top 30 overall, so disappointing for him. So yeah, lots of people taking a lot of curb through that chicane, and it's costing them bad. Also Okoransa, I think, is off in the back. Oh no, it's Brad Crouch, sorry. He's off. He was around 25th position. And now Grebstad's off the track again. Oh, he's had an absolute mare of a lap. He's got to try to rejoin carefully, but he makes more contact. Will he hit the wall as well? This could not have gone much worse for him.
No, it really couldn't. Grebstad's going to rejoin all the way back and around 18th or 19th for the amateur drivers. We take a look back at the replay. I think he may have just, the car just stepped out on him. Those rear tires, I think they're not warmed up. It just looks like he doesn't have full control of that McLaren underneath him.
And then that rejoin was a bit of another sort of rookie error from him. You would have thought that, seeing that there were cars streaming past anyway, he would be particularly cautious, but got another load of contact, and this is just damage recovery from here. We're not going to have safety cars or anything. We're not going to have a entertainment reverse grid, even though I would love that mid-race. That's exactly what we need on iRacing. But no, we're not going to have any of that. He is just going to need to get as many points as he can back. I believe the drivers do get 1 drop score, and he'll be hoping that it is his. But the top drivers very spread out now, and I wonder if you could get a replay of Chris Gooch's starts, maybe from an onboard, because he gained about 9 places by the time that the green flag came out. He absolutely put his foot down. I don't think he will get any penalties for it. Whilst the drivers ahead were kind of slowing up, or the drivers ahead of them sort of slowing up, he was just diving through the middle, and that's why he's up in 6th place overall as the amateur driver.
Well, Sam, you said it at the start. You've got to be very opportunistic here at Zolder, and he certainly was that. Gooch being able to get his way forward, just taking as much advantage at the start as he could to avoid any problems behind him and be able to gain up those positions as we watch Callum Reed-Garton, who is pulling a massive advantage here. It's up to about 3 seconds between himself and Fletcher as they work their way through about the 5th minute of this hour-long race.
Yeah, this is, yeah, once again, said it before a couple of times, it's going very well for him. 27.26, he was 1/10 of a second faster than Fletcher on that last lap. He was 3/10 faster than Pudicom. Oh, we've got another off. It's Glenn Hopkins from P3 in the amateur standing, started on amateur pole as well. But Hopkins, the Australian driver, is slipping down. He's back on circuit now. No, he's not. Well, he's still losing places, but I think he is back on circuit at least. As Hopkins just trying to get his momentum back up. And that is one of our big hitters in the amateur standings. Slipping down the order, he's now down 9 places compared to his race start.
Yes, he is, and here comes that replay from Chris Gooch. Just watch this anticipation. Everybody checks up. He recognizes the green is out and puts that right foot down on the loud pedal, just splitting the difference between everybody. And good there that he didn't try to split onto those next couple of cars, moving himself out to the outside line. Very, very heads-up driving and a very measured, aggressive attack there from Gooch to start off the race.
Yeah, he was just in the right position right there, and no hesitation whatsoever. And yeah, really benefits a lot of position, particularly that move to the outside was very smart from him. So that's why he's up in 6th place, and to be fair, whilst very established drivers have been making mistakes in front of him, he has been keeping it all neat and tidy, and he's not dropping back off Christopher Carlson, who was another driver who got a very good start. 4 places gained is Carlson. Stein Van Nylen struggling to keep up with the Altitude Esports drivers. He is slipping back right now. Carlson and Gooch matched each other to 100th of a second. That last lap, Marin was actually 4/10 faster. In fact, actually, Van Nylen, Carlson and Gooch all got the exact same time, a 28.13 on their last 12 of the circuit. But yeah, Marin about 4/10 of a second faster than all of them. They are starting to turn into a pack of 4 right now, these drivers. But Carlson, maybe just as quick as the driver ahead, but he's going to need a bit of overspeed in order to pass. As there goes Dadswell up into P10, overall P9.
And remember, he is on that recovery drive after that incident that we saw him do. So good for him to be up this far right now. Looks like Timothy Bry will be his next driver that he's going to have to clear on by about 2.5 or so seconds up the road. So he'll have some smooth sailing right now. This will be a good indication of what Dadswell's absolute pace is. There you can see Bry just ahead of him.
He's already pulled quite a gap, hasn't he? But how far do you think he could get up to? I mean, Gartson looks secure, Fletcher looks secure, Pudicom P4 maybe? Or do you think that's pushing it a bit?
I think that may be pushing it a bit. I think a top 5 here for Dadswell would be ideal. It would be fantastic, but that's about the maximum I would imagine he will be able to get. But I've been proven wrong before, Sam.
Well, I just wonder maybe if, well, to be fair, Van Nylen's pace is good. You lost 1/4 of a second to Carlson that last time out, but on this lap I think he's actually been able to pull away slightly from Carlson. Just wonder if Van Nylen is a bit slower than the drivers that he's ahead of, if he can maybe hold them up, and maybe that could help Dadswell out later on. Not quite sure, but that was a good lap there. He's into the 27s now. I mean, compare that to the leader, 27.16. It's almost a different league is Callum Reed Gartson. He's now 4 seconds ahead of Billy Fletcher. You can often be a match for him. I remember in Road America in the Sim Racers World Championship last season, really Fletcher should have won it. He got involved in an incident with a back marker, and he also underfueled the car as well, which didn't help. But he really had the pace to match Gartson that time out. This is a really technical circuit, and it seems as though Gartson has got his car absolutely hitched up around this track, and he is doing very well at the moment. Really good pack right now behind Reagan. We saw Reagan pass Benvik a few laps ago, but Benvik, to be fair to him, has been able to keep up with him. And Knudsen, Mystic and Lynch all close behind. That's the bats for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th in the amateur standings.
Yes, it is, and that is getting very, very close. I'm a little bit surprised here that we are seeing Carlson's BMW doing as well as it is. I would not have expected the BMW to be a great car around here. Tends to be a hair understeery, not nearly as necessarily boat-ish, let's say, as the Mercedes tends to be. But I think the lighter and more nimble cars would really be preferred around here. And so it really is a testament here to Carlson that he's able to keep up the speed. That BMW tends to really exist well at top speed tracks, and this is certainly not that.
Yeah, you can say that again. He won that last lap. He was absolutely flying along. The gap just seems to extend and then cut down a bit. It's not easy to get perfect laps here at Zolder. I mean, getting the curbs just right, you might get it one in a 1,000 laps. We absolutely clipped them just right. Got the corner appropriately, but also didn't unsettle the car too much. Looks alright for Carlson, taking a lot of the second curb. Some of these cars will be able to take more curb than others, and of course it comes down partially to the setup that you adopt as well. He's getting closer and closer. 0.6 of a second is the gap a bit. He loses a little bit through the 3-point chicane there. I think he was a bit deep on the brakes on entry, and the gap just extending out a little bit once again. We're in ahead of Gooch just behind. So yeah, no change between those drivers. There goes a move from Dadswell. He's up another pace. He's ahead of Bree now. And that one was down at the hairpin. Haven't seen too many moves around that part of the circuit so far. There was a little bit of contact as well. But you can see how close Dadswell is relatively to the guys who are fighting for top 5 right now.
Yeah, he's certainly moving his way up, really closing in a lot more than I would have necessarily anticipated Dadswell to be able to do. Let's watch the replay here of this move. This is down through that sort of sweeping left-hander that you line up for it. Just later on the brakes was Dadswell, able to get it woed up. That Porsche there behind him of Brie, not exactly giving him all the space in the world, but a good move from Dadswell and well executed, it has to be said.
That was good, wasn't it? He was a long way back, and that's why you don't move in the braking area, otherwise that would have been an absolute disaster between the two drivers. But no, I love to see that one. He just positioning the car well, all fair. As we see that back to that I was just alluding to a few minutes ago. Reagan at the front of this, but he doesn't seem to have the pace that I thought I honestly thought Reagan would pull away. He seemed to get past these drivers so easily earlier on, but Benbick is really close, and Benbick might be in line for a move here. You've got an opportunity at Zolder, you've got to go take it, but he just hesitated. Now he's gone wide. To be fair, it seemed like Reagan was really slow as well himself, and now Knudsen, he went wide. They're all messing up the corner, and it seems to be a domino effect going backwards in this pack. And after all of that, it looks like Mystic has got ahead of Knudsen, and Lynch is now very much on the back of this train as Lynch looks to the inside, but he wasn't able to repeat what Dadswell was able to do one lap ago.
No, not able to get it done. He certainly thought about it and showed his nose there, but that cost him a little bit of time as we jump back up to Dadswell, who's already been able to move into 7th in class right now. A great run for him. This is 8th overall. He just got by Zeiken, and so that's going to be a very, very good run. He's now going to focus his eye on the AM leader directly ahead of him, Chris Gooch.
Yeah, Dadswell 20 seconds off the lead at the moment, 10 seconds off the podium, about 6 seconds off 4th place. There is Gartson, 5.6 seconds down the lead. I haven't looked at the timing tire yet to see him not have the fastest lap of the race, like from the previous lap. That's how dominant he's been, just extending it 2-3 tenths of a second every single time. Getting into a bit of traffic right now, and of course Gartson, for those who weren't around at Imola, and I'm sure many of you weren't, he was leading by about 10 seconds back at Imola, ahead of Billy Fletcher, and then he spun out from the lead about midway through the race, all by himself. Now, that is something that I've only ever seen him do once, and I've seen him win about 5 races in the past, just in 2022. So, it doesn't happen too much, those spins, but it is possible, and I'd say this circuit is just as tricky as Imola, so maybe could be in the back of his mind, but I doubt it. He looks very comfortable right now out in the...
Yeah, looking very much in a field unto himself, as does Billy Fletcher here. This is going to be nice for the both of them, and what it'll really allow them to do is just kind of run their own race and be okay with where they are. Now, the only problem they're going to run into is this is an hour-long race. We're about a quarter of the way done. We're going to have to deal with lap traffic before this day is over, and that is going to be a very, very sticky wicket there for Garton and Fletcher, a lot of these leaders.
Yeah, that's certainly a place where could go could be an extra factor for these drivers to deal with. And yeah, we are going to see a lot of that later on in the event, especially when it comes to drivers coming in for their first pit stops. So you come out into the leaders' way. This could be very interesting coming up. Hakon Grebstad is in 19th place, as Lavagna has a bit of a problem, by the way. He's just dropped down a couple of places. But Grebstad is coming across this big pack that we were showing a few minutes ago, and he's just going to have to pick them up one by one. Now, I think if this was like an official race, I feel like Grebstad could take some satisfaction in this one. But I imagine he's quite grumpy. I don't know. Maybe it's not a luxury that I've often been in, DJ. It's very rare that I come across a pack of cars and I pass them every single one of them. Hopefully you can take some satisfaction in this of picking up these drivers one by one and trying to get through all of them as quickly as possible.
Well, I mean, as a racing driver, you do want to race, but when you've got the championship on the line, it makes things a lot harder. The other thing that is going to be a real problem here for Grebstad, look at that steering wheel, Sam. That steering is slightly off kilter. He has got a wounded car that he is nursing around here, and though that's not going to stop him from getting by Lynch right there, the 209 easily down into that second corner.
Just as we went on board, I noticed that one. That is a lot of like steering issue, isn't it? And I remember he had that spin at the chicane earlier on, and I'm pretty sure that's where he got that damage from. And so if it's naturally leading to the left, isn't it? Which isn't even good, because this is, you know, you're naturally turning right around this circuit. So it's not even like a good of either way that could go. That was sort of the bad way for it to go. So no, not good for him. As a mistake. Still ahead of Knudsen. I don't think there was any change there. They seem very close to one another. Reagan has been able to pull away from these guys now, 1.1 seconds ahead. But Grebstad onto Knudsen now for New Day Motor Club, as he sends one to the inside into the hairpin, and that's easy enough for him. Gets it stopped on a dime. Loses pretty much no time with that move, and he's up a couple of places in the space of less than, well, pretty much half a lap, and he's done those two moves.
Yeah, and it really goes to show you the absolute talent that is Hakon Grebstad. Is, you know, he said he's got that steering issue. I know a lot of lesser drivers would have just absolutely parked the car at that point. There's no real solution that you can give in the pit stops or anything like that, but he is not only soldiering on, but working his way through the field as now he comes up behind Mystic, and I've got to think before the end of this lap, he'll have that move done on the 7-Eleven.
Well, you say that there's no solution. In the real world, there would be no solution apart from like a mallet, perhaps. But in the iRacing world, the magical place of iRacing, we do have faster pits. We have one faster pit for each driver. So you can get that fixed at the pit stop. Is he going to go for it? No. Smart decision. But you can get that fixed at the pit stop. So I wonder if we'll see him come in for an early pit stop here. Grebstad and get that dash fixed. Problem is, if he pits it, he pretty much got a lap down. You don't really want to have to deal with that, because then you're sort of stuck behind drivers. I guess you're going to be stuck behind quick drivers, but I think he'll just stay out for as long as possible. He's probably got a lot of experience in this position. Ooh, he nearly hits the back of Benvik there, but Benvik was just about quick enough himself through the corner. Quite as controlled as last time for Grebstad. But he is up another place. That's 3 down, and he's got 2 more to go.
Yeah, he'll just continue to keep plying his way through the field here, I have to imagine. Benvik and Reagan both will be next on his order. Still a lot of way to go to even crack into the top 10, though, it has to be said. And I'm sitting here watching this, just kind of thinking to myself, Sam, what could have been for Grebstad had he not had those 2 incidences? He's clearly got all the speed in the world in, I believe, is the lone McLaren in the field.
Yeah, I doubt he would have been able to challenge Gartson tonight, but I think he would have been either racing with Fletcher or Pudica. I mean, judging by his qualifying pace, he was very quick as he's up another place now. There he goes. Into 15th overall. Remember, he qualified in third position ahead of Fletcher, who qualified 5th. So, gotta wonder if he would be in that second place right now. Gartson does look like in a league of his own. But, yeah, a lot of points gone begging. But, yeah, could be a fun race for him as he's done very well with this traffic. And he's just got one more to go. There hasn't been too many moves, by the way. That's sort of why we're paying so much attention to this. And he loves that hairpin. Good to see moves down at the hairpin. And he is up into 11th place. Next up for him is Kocho. Kocho is 7 seconds ahead. That's probably going to take him the best part of a quarter of an hour to gain back that time. Grevstad is also 45 seconds off the lead. As Mystic is in the pit lane, interesting. The very unique pit lane entry we have around this track. So Mystic, I didn't see any damage on that car, but it was in that pack for a while. As Zykin with a big slide, that was amazing camera work there from Alex Simpson to catch that one. Absolute 6th sense right there. And we catch the move with Bree going alongside. You go ahead, no, you go ahead. And eventually Bree moves to 8th.
Yeah, and that was a very, very impressive slide and an impressive catch there from Zykin. But he's going to look to fight back here a little bit on Bree. Bree was about a second behind before that rattled off, so I think Zykin may have a little bit more speed woed up behind him in the Ferrari. But he's also going to have to watch out for Scotty Angelo in that Audi behind as he's starting to close down on him as well. I'm wondering if that may have overcooked the tires a little bit for Zykin. He may have to spend a lap or two just kind of cooling them down and getting them back to a good operating temperature.
Yeah, it's a good shout because there's not really an opportunity to cool down the tyres around this track. Once you do heat them up, you're just going, you're back into corners. And yeah, can be tricky to cool them down. You've got to have a lot of control in order to do that. I wonder if you get the track temperature up on the screen actually, to see how warm it is. It looks sunny up there, but I think we're using the 2nd of April. No, 26th of March even, so it's not going to be that warm. Oh wow, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That is as cool as it gets in iRacing world. 81 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 27 degrees Celsius, I believe. So warm, quite, but not super warm. Yeah, cooler than what we see a lot of the time, especially when we get into the summer when the officials so start using the June and July dates. But, yeah, should be able to cool down the tyres somewhat, but not particularly easy around this track, as we see Marin and Dadswell moving through the back markers.
And I believe that is Mystic in and out of the pits, so that gives us a relatively good idea of what that pit stop delta is going to be. I can also report that I believe, unless my eyes deceive me, Grevstad has also just come down, and he is out.
Yeah, 17.78 seconds stationary. Mystic was 30 seconds stationary. Now that's really long. I would have thought... I'm trying to remember how long the pit stops have been in the previous rounds. I thought they were only like 15 seconds or something. Yeah, so that would make sense for Grevstad's pit stop time. But yeah, a lot of fuel put into Mystic's car, so not quite sure what the logic there was. Also, his pit stop transit time was really long, 1 minute 7, like 30 seconds longer than some other drivers. So not sure if that was some kind of issue. But anyway, he's lost time in all of that. That's what matters, whatever the cause was. So Mystic may well lose a couple of places and all that. And as you're saying, Grevstad into the pits. He is now 2nd place out of the men who have pitted. Only Kahea is ahead of him, who has pitted, and Kahea pitted on lap 1. Therefore, he will need to take another pit stop in order to get to the end of the race, as Dadwell is all over the back of Marin. He caught by just 4 tenths of a second in the first sector alone.
Yeah, he did. Dadswell really on that charge here. Better line there through Boulderberg and through the yuck and rinse chicane, able to really get the power down in that Audi well. Looks like he's going to be trying to come up behind here. Probably not going to be able to make a pass here through the chicane. Very, very narrow. You can see... I got to give credit here to Dadswell. He is very aggressive with the curbing in that Audi, far more aggressive than I would ever be.
Yeah, he's throwing caution to the wind. Of course, that's what cost him earlier on. I mean, maybe you'd be beating him right now, DJ, because he would not have taken the curve that he took on lap 1 through the chicane, which ended up spinning him around and put him in this mess. But he's making up the time at least. He's very quick out there. Here we go. This could be the move. But it's a bit of an agreement not to overtake here. Oh, he's gone for it anyway. I imagine Marin won't be best pleased with that because it leaves them, well, losing Marin at least, a lot of time. But once you see a driver go to the inside there is no coming back. It's not really a functional corner that, because used to just be flat out, straight over the crest, I believe. Before they realised that safety shit ought to be a thing, and they put in the chicane. But I do wish they changed that a bit. I think they may have changed it a bit in real life, but well, it would be nice if iRacing could change it as well.
Yeah, it certainly would be. As you said, it really pretty much functions as a one-way street. No real way to go too wide through there at all, and overtaking exceptionally difficult. So just not exactly the greatest feature of the track. I'd love to see a way that they could maybe expand it out, make it a little bit wider, maybe do some changes, and I'd have to see if what they did in the real world on it.
Well, we've got a pit stop now. Carlson in. So we, well, I think that the drivers are limited to 70% fuel, and so they should be able to go like over 40 minutes. So it's unusual to see a driver pit at this stage for Carlson. He was behind Van Nylen, wasn't he? So maybe felt as though he was being held up once the undercut. But the problem is, you know, you can say, well, I'm trying to get out of traffic, but when you pit like that and you're so far ahead of the midfield, you're just going to come out into traffic. He's still stationary, 26 seconds now, 26.33, so that is, this is unusual now. So he was stationary for 26.33. Interestingly, Grevstad only stationary for 17.78. Sejus, 26 seconds, Mystique, 30.77. So it's kind of pointed towards Grevstad having a really short pit stop. Now, I don't know if Grevstad maybe is underfueled here, but just a bit of an anomaly. We'll have to see other drivers come into the pits to get some more comparisons.
Well, as we tick closer and closer to that halfway point, only about 2 minutes away from it here, Sam, I've got to think we'll start to see more and more drivers start to filter their way in to pit lane. I think it's going to really become an issue, especially for these leaders. I could see Callum Reed-Garton maybe coming in a few laps' time when he catches up to the lap traffic ahead of him, just kind of as a way to maybe dive out of the way. Although, as you said, it is a double-edged sword. You could find yourself coming back out just in the midst of even more traffic.
Yeah, so Carlson, came out behind Odins. Got a bit of a gap. He's got 5 seconds to Odins, but he will come across more traffic in the future. Yeah, so it could have been worse. He came out just ahead of Soto, actually. I don't think he had to get that move done on track, which will save a bit of time. And just a word as well on the pit stops. I don't have much use. I'm not very good at driving. You know, I did win the BSR Radical Winter Series Championship, which was extremely impressive, but, and I don't like to talk about it too much, but, you know, I do have to mention it occasionally. But, pit lane here, if you got an opportunity to come into the pits and you haven't got any cars ahead of you, you've got to take that opportunity, because I think, honestly, you could probably save, DJ, about 2 seconds by having a clear run into the pit lane compared to having a compromise run into the pit lane. I remember racing around here in an endurance event with a teammate, and he sort of let me down because he got a stop-go penalty. And when he tried to go for the stop-go penalty, when he was trying to serve it, he like didn't brake, obviously, because you don't do that for the final chicane if you're coming into the pits. He wiped out another driver, which caused damage, got another stop-go penalty, and basically made our day go very bad. Basically, what I'm saying is that if it's a matter of I should have a clear run into the pits round this circuit, so that you don't have to brake for the chicane. For example, Hopkins here would have to brake compared to the car ahead of him who wouldn't. So it's worth considering when you're racing out here, because that could be the difference when it comes to track position.
Yeah, very well could be. And the pit lane entry here, to use an example of a track that is a little bit more seen on iRacing, it's a bit like the pit entry at Montreal, where you're able to just absolutely send it in there and gain that time. And so if you are able to do it, you don't brake until much later into the corner. Then you have to take that sort of awkward chicane to get into the pit lane here. And you can gain about 2.5 seconds if you hit it just right. And so that may factor in a little bit to when drivers decide to pit as well.
Yeah, I think it really weakens the undercut here. If you're thinking, I'll pit one lap earlier than the driver ahead and get the undercut, well, you're going to have to do an amazing outlap, because just by doing that, if you're really close, if you're half a second behind, well, your pit lane entry is going to be 2 seconds further than that. So not only have you got to make up the half second that you're behind on track, you've got to make up the 2 seconds that you've lost on pit entry. So maybe come in especially early so that you've got a few more laps to make up that sort of lost time on pit lane entry, or go for the overcut. Maybe that makes it a little bit stronger for you. As you see Angelo suddenly pop up purple, you might be thinking, wow, he's faster than Gartz in the race leader. No, he's not. He's faster than Gooch, the amateur leader. That's the fastest lap in the amateur category. But all good news for Angelo. For a reference, he's 7 seconds behind Chris Gooch at the moment. That's the gap between the top two in the amateur standings.
Yeah, plenty of room for Scotty to try to get up there the best that he can. It looks like it's a little out of reach here at this point for him, but you never know. That Audi could be able to try to get its way forward. We've seen incidents and accidents take place here at Zolder very quickly, so he's going to keep pushing as hard as he can just to keep that time in Chris Gooch's relative, keep it as close as possible and put pressure from this far back.
Now Angelo, what he needs to not do is pit, because he's got a back marker in front of him. That would be the worst thing to do in this scenario. Just go one extra lap if he possibly can, as Fletcher has a back marker ahead of him. That's no problems. On that last lap, Fletcher, 26.6, that is his fastest lap of the race. It's not coming up as a best lap of the race on my screen, but oh dear, come on Billy, I was picking you up there. That's a bit of a curse, because he was getting some speed there. He just closed the gap by half a second out in the lead. He'd done his best lap of the race. He'd done the joint best lap of anyone in the race, and then he's just missed the chicane there, overdid it, and had to bail out.
Yeah, and that's going to set him back there. Not the best as he would hope, but as we've said, such a big gap up to Callum Reed-Garten. It's not like a lot of it's really going to hurt him here, but this is a little bit of that battle of what could have been with Rebstad directly ahead of him.
Well, this is a battle now, so Dadswell's caught up to Van Nylen. Wow, this is for P4. I thought he might get to P4. I wasn't sure about it. And of course, remember, Carlson has already pitted, as Fletcher decides to come into the pits now. So Fletcher might end up being ahead of these drivers, but I think his pace is fairly similar. Sorry to say Fletcher, I think I meant Carlson at least. 27.6 for Carlson, so actually Carlson was much faster than Van Nylen on that last lap. As here comes Dadswell, he is going to move past Van Nylen, not fighting that one at all. They aren't in the same team, but he didn't want to have any parts of that, did Van Nylen. So Dadswell into the podium positions now, with Fletcher coming into the pits. So that will turn out to be either P4 or P5, depending on where Carlson is. As Fletcher, let's see how long he is stationing for. He's up to 17 seconds. So I'm very confused, because we've seen some low 20 pit stops, we've seen some high 20 pit stops, we've seen some mid-teens, and yeah, on that time at least for Fletcher, 17.5. That's one of the shorter pit stops we've seen.
Yeah, this is all over the place in terms of pit stops, and I'm not sure what to make of it exactly here, Sam. I'm about as lost as you are.
Yeah, because Carlson, who was another front runner, 26.3. That's 9 seconds longer. And it's not as though Fletcher's had any draft or done any fuel saving, as far as I can work out. So I don't know why there's such a big range there. You wouldn't have just taken one tyre. Oh, what's happened to Fletcher now? He's off the circuit. What has happened to Billy Fletcher? Oh, well, that could be controversial. Could allow Pudicom potentially up into P2 later on. But I wonder if he's just gone straight on at the chicane perhaps again. But yeah, Billy Fletcher with a couple of mistakes recently. But yeah, back with the pit stops, wouldn't have taken just one tyre. At least I don't think he would. That would just upset the balance so much. It'd be far too risky to do something like that. So yeah, odd to see the drivers have such a range there. It's Billy Fletcher not helping himself with this couple of mistakes. Look at Angelo, absolutely painting the town purple right there. Is another fast lap.
He's starting to close up here. I'm liking this run from Scotty Angelo. We've got only about 24 minutes here to go, and he's got about 6 seconds to try to catch up to Chris Gooch ahead of him. He was able to take a good chunk of time out of him on that last lap, the tune of about 0.5 of a second. So if Scotty's able to keep up this pace, we may have a little bit of a race for the lead in that AM category.
And that is what we want to see. Just looking at the championship now. In the amateur standings, Chris Gooch currently at the top. Crouch in second place, who had a problem earlier on. That's why he's so far down. Odham's in third. And to go back to 9th place behind Scott Angelo. So he needs points to Scott Angelo. Joe, that we've seen quite a bit on Apex Racing TV. That is why he's got the fantastic logo. That's how you upload a logo, guys. And go to SDK Gaming, download the driver information app, and yeah, he got rid of the background there, and look how nice it looks. It's a great logo anyway, but it showed off brilliantly on its SDK Gaming overlay. So great work there from Scott, and he's probably won the championship in that regard. No, he's down in 9th place in the amateur championship, but his pace is very good. The gap down to 6 seconds from about a peak of about 8 seconds at one point.
Yeah, starting to bring it in there a little bit. Some more drivers coming into pit lane. Zyken there behind Scotty Angelo coming on in. We'll have to see what his pit stop time is going to be, as this ever-evolving mystery of what is the correct length to pit in is. Oh, that's damage to the leader. That is massive damage on the right side of Callum Reed Garton's machine.
Not enough damage to bring him into the pits or something. He seems very confident about it, but you're absolutely right. That's a lot of damage. Imola flashbacks all of a sudden. Could Pudicom win this race? I doubt it, because Gartson looks very comfortable. He's still got that faster pair available as well for his pit stop. But yeah, wonder how that one has been able to appear. With a back marker. Pudicom now into the pits. Just shows how far behind he is, doesn't it? That's Gartson's around the first few corners of the lap before he's even able to come into the pits. Pudicom. Stats well, look at that, 26.6. One on the first lap, remember. As Gartson moves across, takes a lot of curb there. Having a couple of problems, and that's a slowdown as well for Gartson, but he had a nice gap beforehand anyway, fortunately.
Yeah, indeed, he did, trying to bleed a little bit more of that time away there. I think he's been able to hold it down, but yeah, the incident with the back marker there, definitely putting Garton with a lot of damage. You can carry on like that. That looks like it could just be body damage, and as you said, thankfully here for him that he is going to be coming down pit lane relatively shortly to take that pit stop, and he will be able to take that free repair.
Yeah, that'll be very useful for him later on. So I'm just trying to rewind actually to where the instance was, as he's now got into the pits to fix that that damage. I think he got that damage a few laps ago. Actually, did Garton, as far as I can work out. He seemed to have it for a little while, but shows how confident he was out about it, and maybe just very much telling us that, guys, it's no stress. It's no stress, this damage. I can still go 4 more laps on it. I'm not going to change my pit stop lap for anyone, damage or no damage. And that's why he kept on going. And There he is. Marin into the pits. Dadswell into the pits. Expecting high teens. It seems like high teens is the go-to with a few exceptions. Christopher Carlson has lost out. So Carlson was behind Van Nylen before the pit stops. He's actually lost out to Chris Gooch in the pit stop times, because he lost 7 seconds, and he's now 5 seconds behind Gooch. So mistake there from the Swede to maybe underfueled the car for the start of the race. Didn't put a full tank in. I don't know why he'd do that. Or maybe just took excess fuel. But mistake there from Carlson, and that is why he's further down the order. Fletcher stays in P2 despite the mistakes that he made, ahead of Dadswell, and Dadswell ahead of Puddicombe now. Interesting. So Dadswell much faster than Puddicombe in that range, because as far as I can recall, DJ, he was about 4 or 5, well, even more than that, like 6 or 7 seconds ahead of Dadswell before the pit stops, but somehow Dadswell has been able to overhaul that. He's up into the podium places.
Yeah, it's a great run there for Dadswell, but it doesn't look like Puddicombe's going to let this go quietly. He's going to try to have a little bit of a pass going down into the chicane. We talked about trying to make a move there, and I think Dadswell, discretion the better part of valor, looking for the overcut there to try to go back on him. Not going to happen there, but this is a fight that is on.
Well, I was not expecting these guys to start battling. I thought once Dadswell was ahead, that would be game over. The teammates wouldn't be battling it out. Anything but. Puddicombe wanting to get back into P3. Dadswell has been much faster this race, seemingly 3 or 4 tenths of a second a lap faster. And he's getting his rival offline. And these are very much acting like rivals right now, rather than teammates. Can't see Puddicombe holding onto this for too long. I know it is Zolder, tricky to overtake circuit, but there's only so much defending that you can do. And through these chicanes, he's just getting him offline each time, but good speed carried there from Puddicombe. As they move on to their 29th lap of the race, he will be in that podium position.
Yes, he will for now, but Fletcher, or Dadswell rather, not letting it go away quite easily. Starting to build a little bit of a gap here. It's up to about 4 tenths of a second as they break their way through that first right-hander in this sort of triple complex of right-handers that makes up really the first sector of the lap. A little bit of the flashing of the lights there from Dadswell, trying to get into his competitor's head.
Yeah, this is 10 times more aggressive than I thought it would be. I'm very glad that it is. But they're using pulling out all the stops right now in this that's for P3. Again, the flashing. The lights aren't doing a whole lot to be fair around here. Very sunny day in Zolder. Probably save on the bulbs by turning them off. But that's a very good run for him, and you can see very clearly ahead. Now he can very clearly see ahead. He's got no one in front of him, but he's still got a car alongside him. And Puddicombe holds on once again. There's no space there. He's onto the grass. Will he pick up a slowdown for going across the grass there? iRacing may not like that tactic, but he seems to be absolutely fine. He's got the better line here. They'll go alongside through the final chicane. Good respect being shown by the pair of them, leading in cars with throughout. And Puddicombe holding on once again. They're losing each other about 2 seconds a lap right now. With all this battling, it's allowing Billy Fletcher to stretch his legs after the mistakes that he made earlier on. Round the outside goes Dadswell. Terrific pace being carried there by the British driver. He's got the inside for turn 2, and Puddicombe, who was able to respond initially, may just have to settle back now, because Dadswell's got his car fully ahead. He can take a normal racing line through turn 4. He hits the apex as well, unlike his rival, and Dadswell, very well earned, moves to P3.
Yeah, very well earned indeed. Puddicombe putting up a heck of a defense there, but you can start to see a little bit of a gap starting to separate itself out just a little bit, already up to about 8 tenths of a second once Dadswell has been able to come into clean air.
Yeah, and he's, I think he might be, just back a little bit off the circuit, also Bree going off the track, yeah, I think he might be faster than Fletcher. Dadswell, that seems to be what the pace suggests, and of course he did outqualify Fletcher as well. I think that battle may have ended any hope of him catching up to P2 though. I mean, it was going to be a long ask anyway, but I think the gap was about 7 seconds. Gap now up to 10 seconds due to all the battling. It might be half a second lap faster, but he's still going to be short if he does close in by that gap. So, yeah, unlikely now for the P2 for Dadswell, but he would be championship leader after that, because this man, Akon Gemstad, had a mare. He's up to P8 at least. He's ahead of Brie. Zyking came into the pits fairly early, so I think he may have got him during the pit stop sequence. Oh, Gemstad has to come into the pits. Of course, he had that shorter pit stop, 17.78 seconds. But I'm surprised he's had to pit again. And not really made for the Norwegian. This is going from bad to worse.
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly can explain this either. It's just sort of a strange incident for him coming back down. Don't think it's a
Could
drive-through.
be incidents. I mean, they get 17 incidents before their drive-through.
That's
oh,
a
he didn't
drive-through.
stop. It was a drive-through. Gosh, so I mean, it could have maybe been that he didn't serve a slowdown. But I think more likely it was the instance, which is odd because, I mean, we saw him serve. We saw him have 2 spins earlier on, didn't we? So that would be 4x. I think he got a bit of a hit as well from another driver, so maybe upgrade that to 6. But that's still a lot of off-jacks, isn't it? And it's Zolder. I mean, the off-jacks aren't too bad here.
No, it's not like Spa or Barcelona or some of the modern Formula One circuits where it's very, very easy to pick them off. If you're getting an off track here, you know it. You're taking a big clatter of the curbs, or you're out into the grass or the kitty litter. So I'm a little bit surprised by that from Grubstad.
And it begs the question, who else is close to the limit? We don't know, unfortunately. And unfortunately, you viewers don't know. We're not admins in the session. We can't tell you who has got the instance, but well, maybe that sense of wonder is a good thing. So if anyone does come into the pits from here on in, expect that to be the reason, because everyone else has got the pit stops that they need to get done. I think Jose Barchala down in 28th position overall. He's not even on the timing tower. He, I think, has another pit stop to serve, but that's it. Everyone else has pitted and should be fine to continue to the end of the race. So, yeah, anyone who does end up in the pits, most likely due to a penalty. Just looking at how many drivers Gartson has lapped. Thought it was up to Carlson there because you see the blue on Carlson's name. It's not that much. It is down to Hopkins in 18th place. Hopkins, who of course was amateur pole sitter, but it did not go well for him earlier on. Made a mistake and dropped down the order and struggled to recover since then. Gooch is onto the back of Marin now. On that last lap, Gooch gained by 1.3 seconds on the Spanish driver. So as nearly caught up as Dadswell has made a mistake. He's down to P4. Oh no, worked so hard to get up there. Now he's kind of blown it.
And he's down to P5. Is Van Nylen able to get by him as well? I'm not sure what exactly happened there for for Dadswell. Let's go back. Oh, this is Soto with a big off.
You see someone else having an off as well. Albeit I think that may have been a while back. Just alongside him, showing by the gravel chap. It was, oh no, is it going to be the back marker? Oh, was that Soto then? I guess that is Soto, isn't it? So that was the other tracks that you saw. Now that was bad from Soto, and I mean, yeah. You seem to accelerate as he went into the corner. That's not what you meant to do. Shame, I'm sure it was a mistake. Dadswell won't see it like that. Fortunately, he hasn't got damage at least, but it's put him down to P5, and he's not going to catch up to Van Nylen by the end of the race.
No, he certainly won't. I think that P5, I guess, we thought it was going to be good when we were talking about his recovery drive, but now it'll be a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah. And after that, brilliant bats as well with Pudicom. It's a shame for it to end like that. So, what has happened? Oh no, so Gooch has lost the lead then in the amateur zone. So, unfortunately, 2 major things happened simultaneously, and we went to a replay of one of them. And we'll have to get a replay of what happened to Gooch. Because he was battling with Marin, driving so well, brilliant pace, and they were having a good battle as well. And then they went side by side into the chicane. And it just doesn't work, guys. And you know what? I think that's Gooch's fault. He knew that a car was alongside him. He didn't leave a car's width on the inside, and that is why he drops a few places. At least we joined safely. So the 333 down to second place in the abs, and you score points for your class position as well, remember. So you didn't need to pass Marin. And of course that's sorts of the difficulty and the ultimate hindsight. You shouldn't have gone for that move, but hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, indeed it is. And, you know, Gooch has just had such a fantastic race here. Remember that amazing start he had to get things going. Very, very disappointing to see him fall down quite like that. I really am not a fan of that. And but as you said, I have to agree with you. That was definitely his fault cutting across on that move.
Of course, you can't really leave any more space there, but it just shows if you're on the inside into that corner, you need the other driver to back out, otherwise there's going to be contact. I think, and I always like to play this game. We've got close cars here. Zykin, is he going to be able to hold off Flanagan? Basically, the game that I always like to play in the commentary box is, what change would you make to a circuit? If you could change one thing about this circuit, what would you change to?
I think what I would change is, we talked about it a little bit in that Kleine chicane. I would extend that out a little bit more, try to widen it potentially. I don't think necessarily you need to get rid of it, but just make it so you can potentially go too wide through there and open up an overtaking zone, because you can carry some good speed out of Bianchi and be able to get side by side.
Yeah, just widen it up, like you say. Have a bit of a gap between the two apexes, and then you could probably have some good racing there. But yeah, it's very it feels like a quick fix when maybe he suddenly wants to change it, and maybe change it for like a year, and then you need something permanent, and it seems to have just stuck for about 40 years as that change. So, you know, would be a good one to adjust that part of the track. And maybe get rid of the fast chicane as well. That'd be quite good. That's, most of the circuit is still very fine, even those corners are a fantastic challenge here at Zolder. Zykin simultaneously wanting the end of the race to come very soon, simultaneously wanting it to extend out a bit, because he could gain a place here from the checker flag. We could lose a place. Yeah, he could lose a place. These three drivers 1.2 seconds separated. They've got Grebstad 16 seconds behind. Grebstad is catching them by about 1.5 seconds per lap, but he's just going to come up short.
Yeah, with about 7.5 minutes to go, I think that big gap there for Grebstad just not exactly going to work out in his favor as he continues to try to go in. This is your leader, Callum Reed-Garten, as he works his way through the field here, still just picking his way by a little bit more lap traffic.
That's crazy that Garten is nearly a lap ahead now of Grebstad. It shows how dreadful Grebstad's day has been. I mean, it cannot be understated. I mean, he's had as many mistakes in this race, I think, as I thought he would commit all season. And I mean, if that is all his mistakes for the season, then it's good to get them all done in one race. But it has been remarkably awful for him tonight, and he's going to lose the championship lead. But yeah, like I said, you know, get a drop score, use this as a drop score, and hopefully, and maybe erase it from your memory. It ever happened. But for Callum Reed-Garten, all very positive for him. Needs to gain back some points to win at Sebring, but lost a lot of points at Imola, so had to gain back some points. That is what he has done. 19 seconds out in the lead. Ooh, there's almost a collision between the teammates just ahead of him. That could have been very bad. I think that was Alex Peck just in front.
Yeah, indeed it was, as we focus back on our second place driver, or this is Zykin here, as we focus back on him. That battle starting to spread out just a little bit more breathing room among these drivers.
Yeah, he's close enough to overtake at the moment, is he? 3 different teams, so there's no sort of allegiance there. As we see, Dan Ocaranza. Oh dear, well, Dan Ocaranza's in the pits now, so that's a bit of a spoiler for you. It went bad for him. Hit the wall. Oh no! Wow, I mean that wall, that must be made out of titanium or something. Absolutely destroyed it, the car. Maybe radioactive. And seems he has broken the car. And had to go back to the pits. Shame for Ocaranza. And I wonder if he's already used his fast repair as well. Might be able to re-enter the track towards the end of the race. Knudsen with the toe profile picture. It's very disturbing. Let know if you're disturbed in the YouTube chats. We talked about this extensively last week, or 2 weeks ago. Ooh, he's nearly hit the back of Peck there. And gosh, that could have been disastrous.
Yeah, it could have indeed. Thankfully, that is not for position behind him, so he doesn't really have to worry about an attack from behind. He's still got about 7 seconds back to Brock Couch. That is one of the faster drivers coming on through right now, so he'll just have to try to re-rack here in the last 4.5 minutes to try to get back on Peck, but that's going to be a tall order.
Got quite a bit of catching up to do now. When that happened, I was really thinking of a toe pun. There's got to be one. I still can't think of one. So again, if you got a good toe joke in the chat, let us know. Use it for the future rounds of the championship. Super appreciate it. But I really hate that profile picture so much. Yeah, really disturbing. Anyway, quick shout outs. To one of the sponsors for this broadcast, Asetek, and well, we might be able to show you a video of them later on in the broadcast. But do check out Asetek. Go to their website, and you can check out Invicta, the hydraulic sim racing pedals from Asetek SimSports, and reviewers all agree these pedals are like the pedals of a real race car. You can dive into the glowing reviews at asetek.com/simsports/reviews. Do check them out. Thanks to Asetek for sponsoring this series. We tune back in on our amateur race leader.
Yeah, Scotty Angelo just be able to continue on here. Has about 3 seconds and change over Chris Gooch behind him as we get about 3 minutes to go. Crossing the line right now. Laps at about 1.5 minutes here, so I've got to imagine we're probably 2 to go at the line for our leader.
Yes. And these guys are a bit more than half a lap back. So, yeah, race leaders just going through the final chicane now. So about 2/3 of a lap behind. So they'll almost have an extra 2/3 still to go, even when the race leader crosses the line. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. 2 more laps to go for Callum Reedgardt, 2.5 for these drivers. Gooch is closing the gap that last time round. Well, it was 4/100ths of a second past that last time round. It's not much. This time round, though, first sector, 3.5 tenths. That's what we need to see. 5 sectors around this lap. The first sector is the longest one of them. It's pretty much the same length as about 2.5 of the other ones. So it is pretty much a third of a lap. But anyway, we're trying to be positive here. Gooch closing in. 3 seconds now is the gap. He's pushing all he's worth. And this isn't an easy track to sort of be the leader at, because you need to be aggressive around here to really extract all the pace. And Angelo, I imagine, will be very conservative, just making sure that he doesn't hit the curves too much, making sure that he keeps it within the track limits. That's all he needs to do. He should have the pace to hold.
He should have the pace to hold on, but being able to hold on around here at Zolder, we have seen just how many mistakes can get offered up. He cannot let his concentration lapse for even the briefest of millimoments here as he goes around 2 laps to go for Angelo.
Look at that, they're both setting their personal best laps of the race. Gooch a couple of tenths faster, so they really are delivering their best, and it doesn't seem like Angelo is holding back too much, at least. Probably not driving at 90%, but still driving smoothly and quickly as the fuel burns down. Because the tyre wear shouldn't be too bad in these GT3 cars. Angelo quickly gets past the back markers, absolutely no stress right there, and he's only got maybe 2 more. Seja, Crouch is a little bit further up the road as well, but I don't think he'll catch up to Crouch. So it should just be 1 more car to deal with, and then the road will be clear in front of him. Gooch not doing too much on this lap, so it's looking very good for him. No close battles in front of him. Closest battles behind are Lynch and Hopkins, and also Peck and Knudsen, but nothing too imminent as we move into the final half minute, and we are well and truly on the last lap of the race.
Yes, we are, as they get going down here. Clock about 15 ticks away from zero. Was that was Gooch into pit lane?
My goodness, has he run out of fuel? This would be a huge change. See if he is registering as coming into the pits. No, it seems like Gooch has continued, so it could have been someone else perhaps. Maybe one of the back markers. But I appreciate the drama that you're trying to inject, DJ, right at the end of the race. Love to see it. No drama for this man, though. Callum Gartson rounds the final corner. Hasn't been a great start to the season, but he's going to make it back-to-back wins here. The British driver for Altitude Esports Blue crosses the line, and he wins in dominant fashion at Zolder. Picks up a bit of damage through the race, but it did not slow him down one bit. And Gartson brings himself right back into championship contention. Fletcher finishes in second place. He just crosses the line now. We've got a long gap back to Budacom. Dadswell has caught up to Van Nylen. What a performance from Dadswell. He's not going to overtake him at the final chicane here. He is close. He could go for this move. He's glitching out. He's ghosting out. Is he going to go for it? He's not going to go for it. Will Van Nylen manage to get it stopped? He will do. You've got to feel sorry for Dadswell. He got taken out by a back marker in the closing stages. He's still running to the line though. He hasn't got the straight line speed needed. Van Nylen beats him by 4 100ths. And Dadswell with... well, he put himself into trouble on the first time he played, so you can't call him driver of the day. But he did do a very good effort with the comeback. Angelo just kept it clean. Really good stuff for him. Up 5 places from his start. Great pace as well for Samsoi Blue. And Scott Angelo wins in the amateur category. And from 9th place in the amateur championship heading into this round, he will be surging up the standings and undoubtedly is one to watch for the championship. Gooch losing that lead in the closing stages through a move with Marin, but still extends his championship lead. A good night for him. At least I hope he is able to view it from that. And Kocho was a lap down on the race leader, and I think he may have run out of fuel, so that may have been a good thing. Unless he's just driving very slowly out there. He finishes the podium in the amateur standings, and then goes Pudicom, making it an Altitude Esports Blue 1, 2, 3. They were 3rd in the team's championship heading into this round. I have little doubt they'll be at the top of it now.
Yeah, just an absolutely dominant day there, was sweeping the podium for Altitude Esports Blue. So a very, very good day, and an even better day for Callum Garton, just absolutely dominating and taking home victory to the tune of 16 seconds.
I don't think we'll have a bigger gap for the rest of the season. That is, yeah, incredible stuff. Really, really great effort from him today. As he's stuck in the pit lane now. Oh, Callum. He's getting back to the pits. He's reversing a bit. I don't know what he's doing. Or whatever he's doing, he's put a blemish on this race win. Seems like he's cleared the pit lane now. Is a terrible pit lane entry, to be fair. Very narrow around there. Gartson wins, 16 seconds ahead of Fletcher. Gets another strong result, does Billy Fletcher. Wasn't around at Sebring, but that's now a 1st and a 2nd in the races that he's contended. Pudicom in 3rd place. There was Van Nylen, Dadswell, Marin, Carlson, Bree, Zykin, and Flanagan. Grebstad, look at that. He was down in 11th. Had such good pace as well. But honestly, all his problems were his fault. He had 2 spins near the start. He picked up too many instants as well. And finished a lap down. The retirees. Geez, he was last at the Pro Trials pretty much. The retirees were Kahea, Morgan, Puccetti, Mori, and Gannon. In the amateur standings, it was very close near the top. 3.5 seconds between Angelo and Gooch. The others were all lapped by the overall race leader. But Kocho really good performance, a bit under the radar, but the Italian up there in 3rd place. Reagan and Bembic were battling, I think, from the start to the finish. Reagan got ahead in the early stages and was able to hold off the... why did I go for it's Slovakian or Slovenian? I think Slovakian. I don't know why I mentioned it. Absolute dreadful mistake there. Sorry, guys. Lynch in 6th place. Hopkins in 7th. Peck, Knudsen, Crouch running out the top 10. There was Seja, Mystic, Odoms, Faulkner, Gray, Barchala, Soto, and Okaranza. Rounding out the 18 cars in that category. Not many retirees. That amateur category really competitive tonight. And yeah, far fewer retirees than in the pros. I think we might be able to show you an advertisement now for our sponsor for this series. So we'll be back with you in just a moment, going through the interviews here on Apex Racing TV. See you then. Welcome back to the FindingSpeed GT3 League on Apex Racing TV and the FindingSpeed YouTube channel. That was a trailer for Asetek, and those were the Invicta Sim Racing pedals. Reviewers all agree these pedals feel like the pedals of a real race car. You can dive into the glowing reviews at asetek.com/simsports/reviews. Once again, huge thanks to Asetek for sponsoring this series. Interview time, drivers, and we've got a lot of choices here. Brilliant stuff. We'll bring in our overall race leader first, race winner, dare I say. Callum B. Gartson joins us in the commentary box now. Congratulations, Callum. That is a terrific win for yourself out there. It looked quite easy from where we were standing. I mean, it's rare that you win a race by over 15 seconds.
It wasn't easy because of the off-track limits here was so tight. I got some damage as well from like the curbs going through the first chicane, which didn't help, but it didn't alter my pace too much as I thought it was going to. But overall, it was a good race. Congrats to Bill and Callum. They got a decent result out of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, we were concerned ourselves when we saw the damage because we kind of cut to you and we saw that you had the damage. This was about half an hour into the race, and suddenly thought, oh dear, I mean, he's gonna have to come into the pits. And then we saw you drive past the pits, and it very much seemed that you still seem to have a lot of pace under your sleeve. I wouldn't have thought that this circuit would be too bad for the off tracks, but I'm looking at the off tracks now, and everyone is in the teens. I mean, was that something that you were prepared for going into the race?
Yeah, I mean VRS was here not last week, so it was good to get some practice. But it was mainly just pushing and using the off tracks strategically in a sense. But sometimes it couldn't be helped if you like hit the first chicane wrong. Like you'll always get an off track there if you hit the second bump, and it'll really upset the car and you get an off track for it. I did get a slowdown at one stage because of an awkward position of a lapped car when I was overtaking him, and I got a 1 second slowdown. But it was difficult. It was difficult to manage all of them. But towards the end of the race, it was easier because I know the gap that I had, so I just managed it.
Now, I was thinking back to Sebring, apologies, not Sebring, Imola, when you were out in the lead. I don't want to remind you, but I think you're about 10 seconds in the lead on that occasion, and that seemed to be the only thing could deny you. Did that come into your mind at all? Because I'm sure you've done many races since then, so I guess it's probably a distant memory. But did you ever think about Imola at all during the whilst you're out in the lead?
No, I didn't actually, to be fair. But Imola was one of those things where it was just a passenger slide where no matter what you did, there was no way you could try and catch it. It was just one of those unfortunate things. But yeah, moved on from that, mate.
Awesome. I will make sure to remind you every race from now of the season.
Cheers,
I need
mate.
to keep you grounded. If you keep on winning races, can't have you. Yeah, need to remind you that you can make mistakes. No mistakes tonight, though, Callum. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, massive shout out to Team Law Racing today. They invited me out into down to Doddington to watch them race. Great for them, great day for them. They got a P2 in MCR class, which was absolutely great. And obviously a big shout out to all of our sponsors as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Callum, and see you back next week.
Cheers, take care.
Callum Reed Gartson there, your race winner once again for this round 3 of the championship. DJ, who would you like to check up?
Well, let's talk to the second place finisher here overall, Mr. Billy Fletcher. Billy, looking at the timing sheets, a relatively quiet day for you, but that wasn't exactly the case.
Yeah, no, I decided to try and make that really hard for myself like I usually do.
Well, talk to me about a little bit of that fight back. I mean, what was the mentality? Were you going full bore, or was it a little bit more of just, I got to take this nice and easy?
I knew I didn't have the pace to match RG tonight. He was on another planet with that Ferrari. So once I got into second, it was like, try and maintain the gap. I was pretty confident that in regards to race pace, I wouldn't be far off him, sort of midway towards the end of the race. So when I made that small error before the pit stops, it was like, right, get in the pits, have a reset, and then see if we can go after him again. But yeah, when I come out the pits, I missed the downshift going in, went in too hot, hit the inside curve, and it just fired me across the other curve, and that was it. We was rotating around and facing the wrong way.
Well, I mean, you obviously were able to recover from that and get onto the second. Is second a good consolidation? And also sweeping the standings 1, 2, 3 with the team has got to feel pretty good as well.
Yeah, it was really good for our was blue, and obviously it was unlucky with Tom in the other team dropping out of top 3 as well as he was running up well. Apparently, I heard he had an issue with back marker. But yeah, it's great to see the other Callum, in third place. He's come on leaps and bounds over the last few weeks. That's great to see. And obviously RG is just getting faster and faster every time he goes on track. So fingers crossed we can continue this on for the last couple of rounds and hopefully bring a team's championship to us.
Well, fingers crossed indeed, Billy. But as for today with this second place run, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Obviously to our student, the team sponsors Asetek for him, Stim Stickers, and the personal sponsor Luxim. For all having their logos on the car and helping us get to where we are.
Well, thank you so much, Billy, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
So that was Billy Fletcher. Now I think I'm going to take a risk because he's got his mic muted, but it may work. Scott T, are you able to chat with us?
A second. Probably now I could with a microphone on.
Aha, excellent. I saw that you were muted. It was a risk to jack you up, but it is a risk that's paid off because you were our amateur race winner tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was quite a surprise, but I'm happy to be in that position.
Absolutely. I mean, your pace looked really good out there. Take us through from sorts of the starts of the race because I think you were able to gain a few positions at the starts and sort of avoid most of the batsing with the amateur drivers. You're around 10th position. I mean, what was it from your perspective? Because we saw a bit of a hold up for a lot of the drivers off the start. It seemed a bit chaotic.
Yeah, especially with this track, every time you come into those really tight places, you hope that we're all giving each other enough respect to get through the first lap and then get on with it. But yeah, it was that way, and I kept it pretty clean and tried to stay out as much trouble as possible. I knew once we get through the first 1 or 2 laps, it's game on. So it worked, and unfortunately, my teammate up front there, Glenn, was got a little bit happy on the gas coming out of the second chicane, and it was just a matter of keeping it clean and staying on the track.
And you certainly did keep it on the track because you only got 4 incidents, and compared to everyone else, I'm seeing probably 80% of the drivers were in the teens. How were you able to keep it so low? Was that just something that came naturally?
Oh, that's pretty. I thought I was in trouble. I don't know. Something's going on with the Audi for me. It's clicking really well, and it can really hold the line that I put it into, and I was just trying to keep it as clean as possible and smooth it out. Yeah, I'm really surprised. I was happy with 4. I thought it was going to be a lot worse.
And does this give you confidence that maybe you could challenge for the amateur championship? Because you entered this round down in 9th, but I'm sure you'll be up in the top 5 at the very least now. Do you think that this could be the start of a championship challenge?
Oh, there's some fast guys here, Gooch, he is wicked fast, and I was surprised to see him behind me. I think there was a spin or something there on the chicane, but look, if it's there and I'm in the running, then why not just grind away and put the best laps in I can and hope for the best.
Well, we wish you the best of luck for that one, Scotty. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Samsung Blue, the boys in the Samsung Blue team, and yeah, and you guys, of course, for streaming it and taking the time and doing the broadcast. It's doing a great job. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Scotty, for the kind words, and yeah, best of luck for round 4.
Cheers, mate.
Scotty Angelo, your amateur race winner, and a really strong performance as well, not making really any mistakes throughout, unlike many others, and ending up on top. We have one more interview, I think, DJ.
We do indeed, and I have been able to catch up with Callum Puddicombe. Callum doing a fantastic job out there, rounding out the podium for your team. This has got to feel good.
Oh, 100%. This is like peaked everything, because I've been learning so much from all the boys in altitude for the last couple of months. And yeah, leaps and bounds is what it's great to be on a podium. That's 100%.
Well, I mean, was there anything special that you were doing to prepare for this track, or is it just speed starting to come along well for you?
To be honest, I did a lot of VRS and a lot of GT3 fixed around here. I think it was last week it was here. And that was kind of my practice, and I just jumped in today, and it also just kind of clicked with me. And yeah, just getting smoother with inputs, and knowing what to do when things do get a little bit uncomfortable it's just experience, and something you get a lot better at as you do more. Yeah.
Well, I mean, going forward, I have to ask, is a win what you're starting to look for next, or is it just for the goal for the rest of the season, continuing to get these strong podium results?
It depends. I mean, Barber is a track I've not really touched, and the same for Road America, because I'm still quite new to iRacing in general. But they're tracks that I'm looking forward to, and when you got people like CRG and Billy, and when Mark races, it's always going to be tricky. We're all very, very, very quick. So it's a case if you just take what you get. And today I just took the opportunities and made sure I was clean on track, and that's how we tried to do things.
Well, it's a good run, no matter how you slice it. Anybody you want to thank for today?
I want to thank Tom. I mean, I feel so bad for Tom Dadswell today because of what happened in front. But that battle that we had, I don't know if you caught it. But yeah, that was some great driving, and obviously to all our sponsors at Altitude. They do so much for us, and they allow us to enjoy races like this.
Well, I'm sure it is an enjoyable race from your perspective. It was enjoyable up in the booth. Thank you so much, Callum.
No worries. Have a good one, guys.
So I think that rounds off our interviews then for this week. And yeah, DJ, hopefully you've enjoyed your commentary for tonight. I think it was a good round here at Zolder. We had a lot of I'd say high quality racing. I mean, I'd say in the kind of head-to-head battles we had, there was very little contact, and well, I think particularly that Puddicombe battle with one of the other drivers earlier on. Desperately trying to figure out who it was. It was Dadswell, of course, wasn't it? Puddicombe and Dadswell battling. One of the highlights of the race. But yeah, good battles throughout the order.
Yeah, indeed, for a track that we were sort of cautioning may not produce a lot of overtaking, it sure produced some spectacular action up and down the field. A really great fit for these GT3s.
Yeah, hopefully we see it on a few more broadcasts in the future, and yes, hopefully we see you around watching a few more broadcasts in the future as well. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, do make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to Apex Racing TV, and of course subscribe to the FindingSpeed YouTube channel as well. And if you're on Apex Racing TV, go check out FindingSpeed. Got some brilliant YouTube tutorial videos, and if you go to FindingSpeed.com, you can also sign up to community races hosted by Russell Barnes, and yeah, get into that Watkins Glen event. Really good preparation for the 6 hours of the Glen later on in the year. And of course, if you subscribe to either channel, do make sure to put notifications on so you know whenever we go live with a video. Also check out Apex Racing TV's Twitter, Instagram and Facebook pages as well. We would super appreciate if you could do any of that. And yeah, also a heads up for a few of the broadcasts that are coming up in the following days. I think we've got the Formula 3.5 Championship, in fact, later today, or is a very entertaining race on a Saturday evening. And then also got the Spec Racer for tomorrow. Got the Champion Motorsports iRacing Team Endurance race tomorrow. Got the FindingSpeed Green Hell Community Race, of course. That's on tomorrow as well. Yeah, Spec Racer Ford ARL Mazda Cup as well is at Hockenheim. That's the penultimate round of that. Rick Tech ARL GT Trophy as well. That's all coming up in the next few days on Apex Racing TV. So do check out the channel to watch all of those videos in the near future. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from DJ Clark, and from Alex Simpson, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you back in a couple of weeks' time. See you then.